Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Denmark Aranas, a postgraduate medical intern. I basically provide informative videos to medical students. And also I would like to give aspiring Filipino physicians an idea of what a med student usually tackle in med school. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And click the notification bell to be updated for my new videos. For today, I'll be discussing the CPC of diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA. This is an acute, major life-threatening complication of diabetes, characterized by a triad: hyperglycemia, hyperketosis, and metabolic acidosis. It is very important for us to understand the pathophysiology of this disease so that we may be able to manage well our patient. This is the overview of our CPT. We'll be discussing this by section. So let's start. The most important risk factor that we have to consider is the presence of diabetes mellitus in our patient, followed by the precipitating events of absolute and relative insulin deficiency. The absolute insulin deficiency refers to inadequate insulin administration, while those relative are those that triggers the decrease in the insulin, such as acute infection, myocardial infarction, stroke, pancreatitis, trauma, and pregnancy, resulting to impaired glucose uptake and decreased intracellular glucose metabolism in the peripheral tissues, such as in the skeletal muscle and the adipose tissue. This now will lead to decreased glucose utilization, leading to hyperglycemia. This now would trigger an excessive counterregulatory hormone secretion, such as cortisol, glucagon, catecholamines, and growth hormone. Among these four, glucagon plays the major role. Cortisol now would trigger gluconeogenesis in the liver. Glucagon and catecholamine would also trigger glycogenolysis, also in the liver. The catecholamine and growth hormone would cause lipolysis from the adipose tissue, leading to the increased glucose production from gluconeogenesis, glycogenolysis, and lipolysis, leading to hyperglycemic crisis. As for lipolysis, this now would release free fatty acids, which would trigger ketogenesis, an increase in it. Now, the alkali reserve would be depleted by the reduced bicarbonate concentration, leading to ketoacidosis. Let us first discuss the hyperglycemic crisis. This now would cause an impaired GI motility and rapid expansion of the hepatic capsule. Combining the two, this would trigger abdominal pain in our patient. The hyperglycemic crisis would also increase the plasma osmolality, which would trigger intracellular dehydration and osmotic diuresis. This osmotic diuresis would lead to a depletion in extracellular fluid volume from water loss and also electrolyte loss. This now would lead to extracellular dehydration. It is very important for us to understand this concept that dehydration must be addressed well in patients with diabetic ketoacidosis because it could lead to hypotension and then shock until death. This hypotension would also trigger mesenteric ischemia, further aggravating the abdominal pain. Electrolyte loss would lead to hyponatremia and decrease in potassium as well. As for ketoacidosis, this would lead to accumulation of ketones. These ketones would lead to the changes in the level of consciousness. from our patient being lethargic, obtunded, stuporous, until finally comatose. The metabolic acidosis would now trigger a response in our body, which is tachypnea, to blow off the acetone, which would be manifested as a fruity odor in the patient's breath. However, this is rarely detected in real life. This now is our reference, 20th edition of Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine. I would like to end this presentation by leaving you with a message. Refocus, realign, and recenter. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something from this discussion.